Welcome to Slaw Academy. Today we are going to be making Afrobeat. So I'm going to start with a simple rhythm. I've set my tempo to 105. Then I go. Alright, as soon as I get the rhythm, I put off my metronome. Then I let it sing, so I could get inspired to find other inspirational items. Alright, so now let us get a sound on top of that. Let's listen to this. What about this? Alright, so I think I love this. I'm going to pull it out and then pull out my wood that I just created. Then I have something like this. I'm already catching the vibe. The next thing I want to do is look for a drum loop or just create one. So I'm going to find a good kick. Alright, since I now have a kick here, I'm going to play it a steady kick. But I'm just going to create a new pattern and call it kick. Okay, pulling it out on an empty track. I'm going to play a steady kick on this. Another way to fill this up is just to right click on this and go to fill 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm filling with 2, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I can just fill with 8. Okay, and I can fill with 4 to have a steady kick. Okay, so let's proceed. I'm going to lay my kick going on. Now let's look for a snare. Alright, I pull out my snare. So you notice I can create my pattern from the playlist, and I can also create it from the channel rack here. So the next thing is I'm going to make an empty pattern here so I can hear the snare as I play it in real time. Alright, I'm going to go back to my channel rack and place my snare. I want to make a longer pattern here, then I'm just going to change this to a piano roll by clicking here. Alright, then just click on this. And immediately you click that, you have your piano roll showing up. Now here we can begin to make longer patterns to our snare. As you noticed, I'm having a double pattern on the snare while I'm having a single pattern on the kick. You see, this is the kick. We have 2 of the kick to make one of the snare pattern. So you can decide to make one pattern of the snare, you can decide to make double pattern of the snare. Alright, so I'm going to continue. Alright, I may like to just make an open hi-hat at some point there. Let's look for that. Alright, I can use my up and down arrow key to quickly locate one. So I think I can use this. Alright, now I'm going to go back up and create an empty pattern too, so I can just listen to it in real time. Heart, okay, then I'm just adding this here. There are different approach to this. You could just make everything on a single pattern and just split by channel. Right click on the pattern and just say split by channel, and it's going to split everything out for you in this form in different channel. Okay, even while you have selected a drum sample for that, you can replace it with other samples while retaining your pattern. So I think this is better. Alright, I might just want to add some conga sound to that. Then I can just type conga down here to get some sounds. Alright, then let's create another pattern just the way we have been doing. Conga, then add the conga here. Then I'm making this a 4 pattern, so you can see we have 2 pattern of heart in a single conga here. We have 4 pattern of kicks in a single conga here. So it depends on how long the pattern you are making will be. You can decide that and just stretch your pattern to make up for the other patterns in your project. All right, now it's time to play conga. So I'm going to be playing this with a controller, so I'm just going to press the record button, and when you right click on the record button, you have different options. I might want to record an automation with the notes. I might want to record an audio clips, that is when you are recording your vocals, and I might want to record other stuffs. But for now I just want to record the notes. No automation, since is a percussive tune. So let's start by just dropping just 1, 2, 3, let's go. Alright, so we have the notes here, then we can edit and we can just select everything and press Command Q on your Mac or Control Q on your Windows to quantize them. So I can add more conga sound to this. Press your R when you get the pattern you want to play. Press your R to activate the record button and then play it in. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Alright, so we have this. We can quantize this, but if I quantize it, it's going to move out of range. So I have to go to the grid and select the bit type. If I really want to quantize this, this is like a 3-bit type, then I have something like that. So I think this works better for it. Alright, it's time to play some more chords to this. So let's add EP. So let's add a pattern to that by clicking on this plus sign. We can add a pattern and name it chord. So as soon as you create that and name it chord, it's going to appear on your playlist. You pull it out, then you can determine the length of the chords that you are playing. Okay, let's practice the chord that we are about to play. We are on B minor. So the progression is 2nd, 6th, 3rd, 6th. Or re, la, mi, la, re, la, mi, la. See, the first time I had the lasso, and the second variation I played do ti. Okay, so talking about grid, you see less of the grid when you zoom in, and when you zoom out you see more of the grid lines, and this will determine how your note is going to be quantized, how it's going to be snapped to all these grids. All right, so when you quantize, this note is going to be slide to the closest grid lines to the note. You can see this note is closer to this grid line in the front, so it's going to be snapped to the front when you quantize. All right, so if you just want to quantize a portion of your pattern, then you can just select it and press the Ctrl or Command Q. So it's going to affect those portions that you have selected, but not the ones that you have not selected. But if you are quantizing everything, you don't need to make any selection. Just go ahead and press your Command or Ctrl Q. Another way to make selection is by you holding down your Command or Control on window and clicking on the notes that actually correspond to the notes that you have played. For example, we want to select every note on C sharp. We'll just hold down the Command or Control and click on C sharp, or maybe all the notes on G. When you are not holding down Command or Control, it's going to play the actual voice of the key, but if you hold down your Command or Control, it's going to make a selection. You can as well select range. Hold down the Control or Command key and then select in range. You drag over the keys. You can also make an alternate selection. For example, you want to select every note on B and every note on G. All right, you hold down your Command or Control, click on the G, then you add Shift to it. That means Command Shift or Control Shift, and click on the next note, the next key, which is B. So you might want to just take every note on B, the lowest pitch there, you want to move it by octave upward. You understand? So you can select that, hold down your Control and press the up arrow key. It's going to move B2 now to B3 or B4 or B5 or B6, depending on the pitch and the octave you are taking it to. If you are moving by pitch, that means you'll be holding your Shift instead of your Command. Holding your Shift will take it by pitch, moving by semitone upward or downward. So Ctrl Q to quantize this. You notice this note is not properly quantized. Then you can just adjust that by taking it to the actual cell you want it to be. Another way to have more control on your quantization is by you pressing Alt Q instead of Command Q. On your Mac is going to be Option Q. Then you have the quantizer dialog, and here you can control the start time, you can control the sensitivity of the quantization, you can control the duration of the quantization, okay, the length of each note, and you have other values that you can also control with the quantization, the pan, the velocity, the release, and other stuffs like that. The pitch is there. And so why you want to do this is because you want to retain some ingredients from your live playing. You still want the chords to sound live, but if all those notes is perfectly quantized, it's going to be sounding digital. When you are playing live, there are some inaccuracy in your playing, and that will add to the flavor of the rhythm. At the end of the day, you click on the accept and you have all your notes quantized. Now you notice that below you have this control changed from velocity to pitch. You can take that back to velocity, all right, by clicking on the control. You have other parameters here that can be controlled for each of the notes that you have played in the piano roll, all right. Let's take it back to velocity. So these velocities represent the volume of each of the notes that you have played, which you can also adjust. Alright, so it's time to add another variation of the chord. Let's have a new pattern and call it chord 2. So let's pull it out, chord 2. Then we want to mute the former pattern that we created. So on this chord 2, we are going to be playing sustained notes. Alright, we'll play it as stretch. Have I told you more about the snap to grid? Instead of zooming in and zooming out to control how your notes are going to be quantized, you can also use the snap to grid to select the division of those grid lines. But because these are sustained notes, I think the snap to beat will work fine. You have a large cells that is going to be displayed on your screen, and it will help your quantization to just work best for this. So you can readjust your pattern, take it back to 2 pattern there, then you can duplicate. All right, so at some point in the project you are using this, and at some point in the project you are using this. So the next thing, let's look for a shakeout. Let's look into the FL Cloud. These are online samples that you can search from and pick sounds from them. So I'm going to be looking for a shaker that will work for my Afro pop. So I think this is fine and it will work for us. So just pull it out, drag it out, and put it on the playlist. You can also adjust the volume of that sample. Just click below and drag it down a bit to adjust the volume. I like taking my percussions in one side of the project and taking my strings in another part of the project. All right, so I can take this shaker, which is on track 9, I can take it up to the other percussions. All right, so I can do that by holding down my shift and scrolling on that track. All right, the track label, track 9, I put it there and screw either down or up. I can also create an empty space between the drums and the strings. By that, I will know all my drums are up there and my strings are down there. You should also cultivate the culture of naming your patterns properly, the wood, kick, snare and all that, so that if you want to edit anything or change anything, you can just go straight to that and do it. Have I talked about this part of the playlist? You have your pattern in a particular tab, you have your audio in another tab, then you have your automations in another tab. So every automation used in this project will be placed under the automation. The audio files that you dragged in, your loops, will be placed in the audio section, and your patterns will be placed in the pattern section. So you have it divided into 3: the patterns, the audio, and the automation. So I've not used any automation in this project, and that is why the automation tab is still empty. On FL Cloud, you can go under sounds and customize the kinds of samples you'll be looking for. The type is going to be loop, not one shot. If you are not sure of what the gen of what you are looking for, you can just leave that blank. If you are looking for chords or guitar samples and all that, you can go under instrument and select the ones that you are looking for. You can also restrict your search to a particular key. All right, so the key of the project here is B minor. Select B and you type minor. All right, so everything is going to be bringing out when you search is going to be under B minor, right? So you can also search by BPM. You can just let it bring out all those samples or all those loops that are created using the same BPM of your project or a particular BPM. All right, but if you don't want to be restricted to all this search query, you just leave it blank. Then it's going to open up for you, because at the end of the day, when you get something nice, you can as well sync that loop to the tempo of your project. All right, so you can automatically sync it to it and it will work just fine. For now, we are looking for shaker. You can also use the up and down arrow to make a selection through all this. You can also favorite this sound if you like it and you will love to use it some other time. You can see I've used this before, that is why you have this favorite on it. Even without dragging it out, you can play along and see how it works. So it's going to be playing it along with your project to audition it and see how it's going to sound like before you apply it. So you can see it playing along with the project and it's sync. All right, so if I like it, I'm going to drag it out and put it on my playlist. So let's do that. We are dragging it out from here and putting it on the playlist. All right, so another thing you can do is that you can just drop it here if you don't want to use it now, and you can just put it directly on the playlist. All right, there are some things here that I'm not using here. I can just drag it out later and use. All right, so I'm going to be taking an empty pattern up there because I want my shakers to be positioned up here. All right, let's duplicate, and here are sounds. So I can mix it up with this and control the volume properly on the playlist. You remember, when you hold down your command or control and click on the key, you can actually do the same here by holding down your command or control and click on track 2 to select everything on track 2, or track 4 to select everything on track 4. Then you can pull down the volume to control it and make sure it blends with the first shaker, since we are going to be using 2 shakers in this project. Alright, so we can add bass to this, we can add voice note, we can add log drums, we can add other ingredients and elements to this beat. So let's look for some voice note. Alright, so I can try this. Let's drag it out. Let's see how it works with our project. So you can slice this up and you can use it in various ways. So actually you have a fade out here and you have fade in here that you can control. If you are not seeing this on your clip, then you can activate it here. If I disable this, I won't be able to access those. But if I want to access it, I'm going to select this and I have those options coming up for me. So everything you are doing in your project is about loop, so you can just make all your beats with 2-4 patterns, and then at the end of the day you press Ctrl C to copy and begin to press Ctrl B or Command B on your Mac to begin to paste as much as you want. Then at the end of the day, all you want to be doing is to mute it or to bring it up. Alright, for example, I want to start without kick for the next 4 patterns. I don't want to start with snare, I don't want to start with the art, I just want to start with this wood, and I don't want to start with shaker. Alright, I don't want to start with the chord, even with the voice note. Then I'll just move to those and start. So you can call them up, you can take them back, begin to arrange your beat properly the way you want it. So let's move on and add some other ingredients on the beat and see how it's going to turn out. So you can see this is not sitting well here. I can select this tool and move this note to wherever I want it to sound. I can hold down the Alt so that it can glide without snapping to grid. So I can just position it properly to where I want it. Okay, let us add a bass. So the progression is So once you identify the progression of a song, it makes it easier for you to play other elements on the beat. Just follow the same progression, use different patterns to make those things happen. It can just be straightforward. Re, mi, la, mi, la. You can take the la backward. Re, la, mi, la. So you can just create patterns, play around this progression. Let's add a new pattern, call it bass 1, because you might be having more than one bass pattern on this project. All right, so let's try a pattern out. 1 2 3 go. I want to end on this note, okay?
Dabeat Handle.
I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like it, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notification bell so that you get notified whenever we drop more tutorial videos like this. Go practice and get better.